So it's time for the final race of the Michelin Ginetta Junior Championship this weekend. Of course, the penultimate weekend in the season. It's been a crazy one that we've seen so much fantastic racing in from the front of the grid to the back. And of course, you know the Michelin Ginetta Junior Championship always delivers when it comes to the craziest action. The weather's started to cool down ever so slightly, but it's still hot at 27 degrees ambient, 32.5 degrees track temperature means we'll see plenty of sliding around all the way throughout this race. Of course, Siburathan, who will be the one starting there from pole position on the inside, net number 78, took a first win at the start of the weekend. And of course, took a second win straight afterwards earlier on today, looking to take yet another victory. Could it be the case that they take the clean sweep of the weekend? We'll take all of our Ginettas around the circuit for one final time this weekend before we start our racing. So get ready to get your elbows out, ladies and gents, because it will be a tight tussle for 20 minutes, as it has been all weekend. It's going to be a tough one. Let's take a look at our starting grid. Rita Siburathan will start from pole position with Alicia Palmovsky once again, who took podiums earlier on in the weekend. Mikey Porter was putting on quite a show in the previous race. Will start alongside Charlie Hart on row 2. Behind that, we get Hugo Schwarzer, who's had a few issues when it comes to the battling in the previous race. We'll start alongside Chase Fernandez, who had an issue coming up towards turn 1 in the previous race, went to the back and then came back up nearly onto the podium. Eddie Robinson will start from 7th position with Tom Spragg starting from 8th. Then we get Luca Hopkinson in 9th position with Finn Harrison rounding out the top 10. Still plenty more drivers left to go. 5 more rows with Alfie Davies and Nick Ellis starting from 12th position. Brie Anglis and Harry Moss in 13th and 14th position. And then we get Holly Mao in 15th position with Jack Robinson in 16th. And the final few rows. Henry Jocelyn and Felix Livesey will start from 18th position. Onto the last row of the grid is Mackenzie Douglas after a couple of issues earlier on today. I'm Lewis McLean, I'll be taking you through the race, but for various bits, including here, I have a guest of Ginetta and Amber Jones. Hello, welcome. I mean, tell us about yourself and what you've been doing this weekend.
I'm very excited to be here. So I work with WTF1 Talent. I'm part of their agency at the minute, and I'm a presenter and pit lane reporter, so this is a little bit different to what I do, and it's actually amazing to be on this side of the box. But I've been in the pit lanes, I've been in the hospitality and in the paddock chatting to the Ginetta teams and drivers, and it's quite nice, particularly in this series, because they're so passionate, the juniors and all the rookies, and they want to get to the higher levels of racing, the more competitive levels, so this is the time to start making their career.
You had a great weekend though?
Oh, it's been amazing. I mean, I've been here today and I've been chatting the whole day, so it's lovely to be on this side of things now.
Yeah, certainly so. Well, thank you, Amber. We're talking to you a little bit throughout the race as well, I am sure, but we'll take a look at the grid. They're coming into positions once again. Rita Siburathan in that position of pole. Once again, looking for victory, looking to, I will say, the emotion after that first victory on Saturday was incredible. It was so lively, so yeah, the raw emotion. That's what I love seeing in motorsport. When you come to this kind of level, when you come to this kind of part of their motorsport career, you are looking at the very earliest days for a lot of these drivers. And we've said time and time again, and we'll talk about this a lot, these are drivers that you might well see in the highest echelons of motorsport in years to come. They begin their journey now, and for the final race of the weekend here at Brands Hatch, Rita Siburathan will start from pole position. We are underway. It's a good start from Siburathan. I don't think Palmovsky's got off quite so well when it comes to that front row. Let's see if Palmovsky can try something around the outside of turn 1. The answer to that question is no. You've got to dive down the inside from Mikey Porter, who put on some fantastic moves yesterday. That's Spragg out wide though, just bringing it back onto the racing surface. They get through the first corner nice and cleanly. It's very tidy indeed. Whether that will last all the way through the lap, we'll have to wait and see. They go through Druids. Once again, 2 and 3 wide in the background. You've got a couple of the elite cars going side by side behind all of that. That is Spragg trying to fend off the charge of Hopkinson. And now down the inside going into Graham Hill. A little bit of contact between the pair of them. And it's just, I think Spragg being pushed out wide there, just a touch, as they all start trying to navigate their way single file. Still Spragg's trying to hang on, trying to keep up with Hopkinson's pace there, but straight to the inside Hopkinson will go, and that will be the position gained. So out onto the Grand Prix loop for the first time. We ride on board here, just trying to kind of battle their way up towards This, of course, is on board with 31. This is Paul Livesey, who we saw quite a lot of racing in the previous couple of races. Now going around the outside. Ellis out wide, though. Livesey's going to get back onto the race circuit, only losing a couple of spots. But wow, that's it's so risky when you go out wide that potentially you might well lose a bit more than just a couple of spots. So Ellis and Jocelyn will both come through, 13th and 14th making their way back up to the race lead. So Werthen, Palmovsky, Porter, Fernandez, Schwarzer, and then there's this Hart, who started quite well in the previous couple of races, actually had decent qualifying before dropping down the order, this time running in 6th position. Hopkinson and Spragg behind. Robinson as well, also in the mix. A little bit of a look down the inside from the 24 of Douglas, working his way up from the rear of the field. So that's quite impressive, getting past Ellis there on an absolute charge. Mikey Porter on board with here. A little bit of a bump draft there over the rear end of the elite car of Palmovsky. Just a touch to the rear, just trying to give a little bit more speed before making the move potentially up towards Druids. Defensive line have been taken from Werthen and Palmovsky and Porter, and of course someone's got to bounce on that. It is Hugo Schwarzer straight around the outside of Chase Fernandez, and that one might pay off as they get down towards Graham Hill. Good stuff from Fernandez not to overcook that one and just accepts the single position being lost. So nothing too major there, but just you know, the classic Ginetta Junior racing that you expect. Palmovsky's able to hang on to that second position, just Schwarzer who's losing out. Keep your eye on Douglas, by the way, up to 14th position, now on the back of Anglis after getting past Leipzig as well. This is on board, of course, with the likes of Palmovsky and Porter. We were on board there with Porter. You can see Palmovsky directly ahead. They come up into the Grand Prix loop and out through Hawthorne's Bend. That's out wide from Palmovsky. Got to be careful of doing that a few too many times in the race. Shouldn't be too bad, but it might make the tyres just a little bit dirty as they head through this section. You need all of the grip you can muster once you come up here through Dingledale and into Sheen Curve. Keep your breath at the moment. We saw an incident here in the previous Ginetta race. Of course, that one being the Pro Tyre Motorsport Ginetta GT Championship. Just a little bit of an incident there between our GT5. You see, in this occasion, actually, it's been a relatively clean and measured start to the final race of the Michelin Ginetta Junior Championship this weekend, which is normally uncommon for the Ginetta Juniors. They normally do like to get themselves elbows out. I love watching the Ginetta Juniors mostly because they're just, again, future superstars, but also just absolutely on the complete limit of these fantastic motor vehicles. Palmovsky taking the defensive line into the first corner. It's allowed Werthen to pull away ever so slightly. Mikey Porter on board with here. You can see the big snaps of oversteer coming up and over the crest at Paddock Hill. Couple of moves in the background as well. There's Mikey Porter losing out to Hugo Schwarzer. Now gets down the inside. A little bit of contact getting brushed out wide going through the exit of Druids. That tends to happen. Is there going to be a big send down the inside going into Graham Hill Bend? No. That's wise, because you need to basically be mostly alongside if you're going to give that one a go. At the moment, no big switches inside that group, with the exception of Schwarzer and Porter. Oh, we've got a car. That's Jack Robinson in the gravel. We saw Jack Robinson in the gravel in the previous race. The Marshals, though, oh, wow, give them a round of applause. That's brilliant stuff, because that means that we might not need a safety car. Look in the background there, just losing the rear end. And unfortunately for Robinson, Jack Robinson into the gravel trap and got stationary, but thankfully assisted by our fantastic marshals around here, so he won't be needing a safety car for that one. The battle for third position, Hugo Schwarzer defending from Porter, from Fernandez and from Hopkinson also in that. I think Hart's the one that's on the rear end of the train. There is a look to the inside. Chase Fernandez making up the position. Mikey Porter's dropping backwards at the moment. He'll know to be patient in times like this. We saw it in the previous race, but Porter losing out there, still side by side between those behind. But wow, that is incredibly close. That's Spragg that's gone out wide there, joining quite a few other cars, dipping two wheels on the exit. Whoa, my goodness me, that's Harrison looking to the inside, coming down on Spragg into the final corner. We haven't seen too many moves going into the final corner this weekend. We just saw one there. Edie Robinson might also be involved in that mix coming up towards the first corner. You can see that the defensive line is being taken, and Edie Robinson trying to figure and muster some way through in that number 51. Spragg taking the defensive line all the way down the start-finish straight, and there was no opportunity to make that move. You really need to force those mistakes. Spragg, once again, it's more in defence, that look to the inside rather than on the attack. And not not able to find a way through. At this level, you do kind of see that, whoa, that was a big load of backfire as well from, I think it was Harrison, getting an awful lot of it going down into Graham Hill. Obviously getting straight into dropping the gear and maybe banging straight into the Revenant. We've got to be a bit careful of doing that too many times. You can damage the engine in doing such. But as I was saying, normally if you look down the inside, you'll see it a lot in higher championships like British GT and stuff. Normally it doesn't phase other drivers around. But filling the mirrors in a championship race can just sometimes get in that other driver's head. And that can, the easiest move that you'll ever make is one you never have to make in the first place because it's courtesy of someone else's mistake. So Urthin still leads from Palmovsky, and that lead has gone out to 3/4 of a second nearly, and the fastest lap was just set on the previous lap by our race leader, Sir Urthin, who clearly loves the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit after taking victories earlier on this weekend, taking the first one, obviously doing my racing number. Absolute wonders, love the number 78. So that's I'm going to take all the credit for the victory. That's out wide for Spragg. Robinson, Edie Robinson's going to be the one trying to close in. Of course, Jack Robinson being the one further down the order of the Robinsons. Just common name, of course, being all over the place. We'll take a look at a slow-mo. Of course, this one going through the section as they head through Sheen and then out through the penultimate corner at Stirling's. There is out wide Hopkinson. It's going to be two wheels quite deep into that gravel. You can see how that curb really falls away. Spragg, this was the time that Spragg followed as well. Really, really wide. It's even wider from Spragg than it was from Hopkinson. So easy to do, just to push the absolute limit. Back to live racing, and as much as I was saying that gap for the race lead was out to 3/4 of a second, it came down by 4/10 over the previous lap. So Urthin now under pressure from Alicia Palmovsky, looking very strong indeed. Chase Fernandez and Hugo Schwartz have also switched over on the previous lap, so Fernandez onto the podium. I do want to talk a little bit more about the previous race from Chase Fernandez, because there was an instant into the first corner. Fernandez was actually backwards, went to the last position, and then worked their way up into the top 5. I couldn't believe it was in the top 10. That was the top 5. That was battling for the podium. Absolutely crazy. There is Jocelyn battling it out with Spragg, who's just dropping backwards now, although the outside line being taken as they head up onto the Grand Prix loop. They head through Hawthorne, the inside line being taken from Spragg, and I think the position might be held from Spragg here, unless Jocelyn's going to be very brave. Oh, it's going to be close between the two, and Jocelyn's going to go out wide. It rips, absolutely rips that rear bumper straight off that car that is now going to be left on the racing line. Now that could be cause for concern for our marshals and the and race controls. They might have to step in and intervene for that one. We'll have to wait and see. Looking at that, I mean, I've got to say, it was just tough racing between the pair of them. Jocelyn was getting kind of a bit aggressive, trying to get around the outside of Spragg into that corner. It's not normally one you really want to give too much of a go. It takes an awful lot of bravery. Still these two for the race lead. I'll talk more of their gap backwards because that's where it's slightly more interesting. It's actually 2 seconds from Palmovsky back to Chase Fernandez, who continues this incredible defence of Hugo Schwarzer. You can see those two behind there. It's 2 by 2 in the top 4, and then just the gaggle of everyone else basically behind. Hart hanging on to that 5th position with Mikey Porter, then Hopkinson, Harrison also in tow. 4 of them battling over that final position inside the top 5. And it kind of goes to that thing of what's important in motorsport. Obviously winning's the most important, and then being on the podium. I'm not really bothered if it's 2nd or 3rd, to be honest, as long as I'm on the podium, and then it's somewhere inside the top 5 again. Not really bothered if it's 4th or 5th, and then it's sort of all those positions behind you, top 10s, top 15s, top 20s, all the basic ones, just round numbers to make life nice and easy. And so for them, there's 4 of them battling over that final position inside that top 5, which I would very much like. 6th, 7th, not really that bothered. 5th, I'm more interested, much more interested, as that's exactly what we can see here. Hart just hanging on at the moment. We were on board with Mikey Porter on the run up towards Hawthorne. The defensive lines being taken from the number 50 of Hart. Porter's not able to get through. That was a slow exit though, as they run down the hill. That windscreen wiper being on, by the way, was not for rain. It's certainly not doing any of that around Brands Hatch, as there is a brilliant send from Harrison straight down the inside of Hopkinson. And that was fairly simple. Hopkinson, I think, was a bit wise to it and thought, actually, I'm not going to fight you right now because there's still 9 minutes and 10 seconds left to go in this race, and still there's plenty of opportunities for me to find my way back into it. Should be roughly 4 laps of racing from this point. Might actually be 5 if I can do my maths correctly. It would be 5 laps from this point, with them running roughly 1 minute 50-second lap times. Still tight for the race lead, half a second between the top two. So Wirathan able to hang on from Palmovsky, Fernandez, Schwarzer, Hart, then Porter, Harrison, Hopkinson, Spragg and Edu Robinson switch positions at the back end of the top 10. Jocelyn still hanging on to 11th, and unfortunately that big charge from Douglas, Mackenzie Douglas, earlier on in the race has sort of come to a bit of an end. It's just 12th position that Douglas will be running now, so not able to find too much more than that. There is 3.4 seconds up. Oh, that is quite a big one into the barrier. Not sure as to which of our cars that is. I kind of get the feeling it might be Davies, just a bit further down on those white cars, number 74 into the gravel trap, into the barrier, and that will surely be a safety car. Alfie Davies for Prep Tech UK will get out of the car. And the marshals giving him instructions. Obviously the double waved yellows being shown at Paddock Hill, whilst the marshals make the decision as to what is possible, and race control obviously in keen communication with them. And you can see there the safety car has been deployed. So 7 minutes and 40 seconds left to go. They'll go past the safety car boards and flags, and yeah, it's fair, that's kind of expected. I'm surprised we didn't get a safety car earlier on, but the marshals worked so well earlier on. I'm going to use this time to bring back in Amber Jones. Of course, as we can see, that car is stationary. Now, Amber, you watched 13 minutes of that race. It's crazy, this Ginetta Junior lark, isn't it?
Well, genuinely, I thought it was going to be worse than it has been so far. I thought it was quite clean at the beginning. Obviously, looking at that now, it's just starting to pick up, I think, at the minute. But I was expecting worse because they are rookies and they are obviously at a junior level, so I thought there was going to be 10 times more mistakes than there is. But the weather conditions have started to calm down now, so there probably isn't a lot of, the tyres overheating, the engine overheating. So I think they are more on the ball now, and that's why it's been a cleaner race up until this point. Yeah,
now you do a lot of presenting and stuff in motorsport and in production, more on that side. So you get to communicate with the drivers straight after races, but you get to communicate with drivers at higher levels than this. So what does it kind of make you feel like when you're kind of seeing these drivers coming up? These might be drivers that you'll be chatting to fairly soon.
I know, I hope it will be. I mean, to be honest, I think when the drivers are older, it's second nature to them. They've been doing it for so long. So sometimes they actually don't want to have an interview. Whereas these guys have been so friendly, and all the drivers are friendly that I interview, but these guys have the passion and the excitement because they want to get to where the older drivers are. So it's lovely to speak to these and then obviously compare it to the older ones. But every driver always has so much passion. I think there's probably more, what's the word I'm really looking for? More aggression when they're older. Yeah. I think now it's because they're younger, they're just quite ruthless, but later on they've channeled in that and how to use that and put that in their driving skills, so it's very different.
I think it's sort of like at this point it's very untamed.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, have you got any experience chucking a car around a racetrack?
Oh no, I wish. No. I would absolutely love to. I think I'm probably a danger on the roads as it is, so maybe don't put me on a track. Oh, that could be great on a track, to be honest.
I'd be entertained. You can see here, by the way, and this is one thing that's kind of important to all of us, we've all dealt with the heat this weekend. You can see a couple of drivers basically hand out of the car. That's Hart directly ahead. Basically, windows, as soon as the safety car comes out, windows down, hands out. I don't blame them at all, because could you imagine how hot these cockpits are, right?
Well, that's what I said to them. I caught up with Hart as well, and I was like, do you think these conditions are probably worse than if it's wet and really wet? And he was like, yeah, I actually do think so, because there's actually more going on. When you drive in the wet, you kind of know your strategies, but with this, anything can happen. We're so hot, we've got no water, no aircon. They are short stints of races though, so I guess it's probably not as bad if they were doing like an hour or 2 hour racing, but still, I don't know how they do it.
No, me neither, because like you say, it's really tough. So you caught up with quite a few of the junior drivers, obviously not just the juniors, but elsewhere as well. But what's the vibe like down in the paddock?
Oh, all super friendly, all rearing to go, and they have quite a few hours in between the races because there's so many other races going on in between, so they're very relaxed, to be honest. I think they're just excited to get out there. They're like always rearing to go, but I know Hart's father because he races in GT Cup, so I've been catching up with them a lot this weekend, and he told me that he is quite good going up the grid and making those positions, so I was watching him very closely in this race, and I think he went down slightly and then he went back up again. but I'm really watching him. He's doing quite well. Now he's in 5th, but obviously behind the safety car, so they can't make up those positions yet until the safety car goes back in.
Yeah, and of course, what you make of the importance of champions like this as well, because it's one thing that Ginetta's always kind of like pushed. With it being effectively like a feeder series to a lot of other championships. There's no like direct, if you do this, you're going into British GT or GT Cup or British Touring Cars. It's just like this is where you start in your motorsport, and then everything else from there is up to you. These steps are really important to be there in the world of motorsport, right?
Yeah, exactly, and I was quite shocked as well that some of the drivers didn't even come from karting.
Yeah.
They just jumped straight into the Ginetta GT cars, and I was like, wow, that's a bold move, but you can see you don't need to have that direct view of the career. You can just jump in a car and then maybe go to British GT, but that was a question I kept asking all the drivers. What do you think is next for you? Is it single-seater? Is it British GT or different GTs? And all of them are really just here to get the experience and see what they like and get for a feel of which cars and which racing series they want to continue in. And that's the beauty of it. You don't just have to get in this and then, like you say, work yourself up the rankings. You can change and go, do you know what? I fancy a bit of GB3 or GB4.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, like I say, I've from my time in commentary, I know a lot of people that have done like the Ginetta Junior stuff and then have worked their way up into high levels. Obviously, there might be a small driver you might have heard of. His name's Lando Norris, who did Ginetta Juniors. For someone that I'm relatively close to just because of the championships, which is Luke Browning. I've known him from the world of sim racing and stuff, but even when I first knew him from the world of sim racing, he was taking part in the Ginetta Junior Championship, then took part in British Formula 4, then took part in GP2. I mean, he's basically won everything, and now he's taken part in FIA F3. It just shows that you need a stepping stone, something like this out of a kart. Because everyone will say, like, you want to jump into a light open wheeler straight out of a kart, but I'm kind of... A kart moves around a lot. I want a car that moves around a lot anyway. I'm going to let you get back to enjoying this because thank you, Will, for joining me.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Obviously, we've got 2 minutes left to go. The lights are out on the safety car, so Worthen will take control and we'll head into the race once more. With where they are in the race, this could well be onto the last lap. We'll see what time it is when they get to the line. I believe it will be onto the final lap of this one. And so Worthen looking for the clean sweep at Brands Hatch, but under a lot of pressure from Palmovsky. Those times ticking down, 1 minute and 47 as they cross the line. We are on to the last lap, ladies and gentlemen, the last lap of racing here at Brands Hatch this weekend. Obviously, everyone then will be hungry to find any position, any advantage, anything they can possibly get with Worthen with that advantage. Out wide, though. Oh, that's going to be Jocelyn coming back onto the race circuit, and unfortunately, just going a little bit too deep into that first corner, which is so easily done when the tyres cool their way down. Out of Druids, that's the 24 being pushed wide of Mackenzie Douglas, but it's all clean in the top 5. Plenty of splits. Oh, that's a little bit too desperate down the inside from Jocelyn on the recovery drive, getting back past Anglis. There might be 3 wide on the run. Oh, there's contact as well there. Goodness me, they are not letting things calm down. This is exactly the racing we were expecting for the Michelin Ginetta Junior Championship. Just racing hard up for every single position. There is side-by-side here between the 22 and the 31. The 22, of course, is Ellis. The 31 is Livesey, who is just trying to gain their way back up the order on this final restart of the race. A big look down the inside from Mile, trying to pass Moss. Teammates battling a bit further down the order. The battle for the race lead, though, is close. It's on, maybe, if Palmovsky is brave. So Worthen will hold the advantage in that number 78. Big backfire once again. I think that was once again from Hopkinson. Here comes a big send, though, straight down the inside. Mikey Porter's trying to make something stick on Hart. There's contact, but nothing too major. Hart's able to hang on to the position. Everyone dipping 2 wheels on the exit of Sterling's as we head down to the final corner. So Worthen's mirror is being filled by Palmovsky, but no move happening just yet. There is Mikey Porter, and behind that, it's super tight. Hopkinson, Harrison, and all of them just coming across the line in one tiny gaggle. So Worthen will take the 3rd victory of the weekend. Palmovsky behind in 2nd, with Fernandez, then Schwarzer, Hart, Porter, Hopkinson setting the fastest lap of the race to finish in 7th position ahead of Harrison. Plenty of drag races behind all of that. But wow, what a drive from Sir Worthen. I don't know if, Amber, you want to say anything to Sir Worthen right now, because like that was an incredible drive. To that credit, to have won, to have not won coming into this race, and then to have won all 3 races on the weekend, that's mega.
Well, it's just been a fantastic weekend, obviously, for him, and I think that was such a stunning drive. I think the drivers subconsciously heard what I said on comms when I said it was quite a clean race, and then that ending was amazing. So, yeah, congratulations.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic stuff from there. Sawirathan taking that victory by a tiny margin, by the way. It was only a tenth of a second across the line. Palmovsky in behind, and Chase Fernandez onto the podium. Like I said, did an amazing job in the previous race to recover, and now was just right in the mix. All of our Michelin Ginetta Juniors into the pit lane, and here are the provisional results for them. Riza Sawirathan taking that victory, Alicia Palmovsky taking second once again, and Chase Fernandez onto the podium. Hugo Schwartz, who started the weekend quite strong. I mean, to be fair, I think he'll be pretty happy with fourth place. Charlie Hart in fifth. Mikey Porter, Luca Hopkinson and Finn Harrison all involved in that incredible fight late on. Mackenzie Douglas started from the rear of the field, moved up into ninth, with Edie Robinson in 10th. Tom Spragg in 11th position before we get Henry Jostler, who was off the road late in the race with that restart. Bree Anglis, Nick Ellis, then Felix Livesey, and then of course Harry Moss, Holly Mail, and then Jack Robinson and Alfie Davis having problems. Jack Robinson obviously was in the gravel trap, was able to put his way back into the race. Alfie Davis, unfortunately, a retirement with that run out into the barrier. Obviously, you can see them here coming into the podium finishes, and that's it. It's the end of the weekend, so you can jump straight onto the top of your car. It has been the perfect weekend for Riza Sawirathan, and to have put on such a display, you don't see that too often. Like I say, when we're this late in the championship, yes, it's a junior category, these drivers are basically figuring it out bit by bit, and every round they kind of come in, they get a bit stronger. But Riza Sawirathan has come into this as the strongest and has shown incredible form. Yes, I know, not the championship leader, they've gone elsewhere, but Riza Sawirathan has shown themselves to be potential for a championship leader. Obviously, all of the team out there celebrating, and rightfully so after, we all speak of the driver and the work that the driver puts in, but it's all about the work the team, the family, that everyone puts in behind the scene. There is Palmovsky out of the car after what has been a very solid weekend for Palmovsky, to be perfectly honest. Obviously finished on the podium in all of the races. Previous in the first race of the weekend, ended up third. Of course, going a couple better here, finishing in second. Not quite the victory though, just didn't quite have enough over Sawirathan to have taken that one. Obviously, a lot of drivers will be very happy with how they've played things this weekend, and I'm sure it'll be the highlight for them to have rounded off a weekend in such fashion. Of course, all of the positive vibes being dished out between all of the drivers. We'll take a look at highlights from the race then, and of course Riza Sawirathan starting from pole position, defending from Palmovsky into the first corner. Palmovsky almost had a little bit of a look from Mikey Porter, who was trying to send one down the inside to take second position, but it was Sawirathan holding on to that race lead. Fernandez in behind, of course, all trying to find their way through. Chase Fernandez trying to make their way up the order. It would be fourth position for them, with Hugo Schwartz coming through, and unfortunately Hart moving backwards a little bit. There was plenty of side-by-side all the way through the field, along with this move. Livesey around the outside, trying to make something stick on Ellis before being escorted out wide. Rejoining the race circuit, only losing a couple of positions. It was tight in the battle for the race lead. Hugo Schwartz getting around the outside of Chase Fernandez, and that was up into fourth position, with Schwartz trying to look for a victory, trying to look even for another podium. On board with Mikey Porter, seeing Hugo Schwartz come straight down the inside through Druids, getting escorted out wide just a touch. The pair of them being extremely close. There was this, unfortunately, would bring out the safety car. Davies off and into the barrier. The safety car would neutralise the race and mean that we had just one final lap, one-lap shootout here for the final race of the weekend. Riza Sawirathan, Palmovsky and Fernandez all extremely close as they were heading up into that first corner. There were battles aplenty all over the place, including this one on board with Livesey, trying to make their way through over those final laps of the race. The up and unders not quite working. Riza Sawirathan, though, taking victory for the third time in the weekend. Palmovsky in second, and Fernandez, of course, taking that third place. Yet another incredible weekend of the Ginetta Junior Championship. And again, amazing for Riza Saworthan. We'll take a look at the points. Obviously, Freddie Slater way down the road. We'll ignore that a little bit. He's obviously our championship leader and basically champion-elect. Hugo Schwarzer in second. Mikey Porter, Riza Saworthan, though, knocking on the door of a potential second in the championship. Continuing on with weekends like that. Might well see another one when we go to Donington Park for the final weekend of the season. Charlie Hart, Alicia Palmovsky as well had a great weekend in there. Chase Fernandez, Finn Harrison, Mackenzie Douglas, Luca Hopkinson, and then you can see all of the rest of them down there. Unfortunately, a disappointing weekend for Alfie Davies, but absolutely amazing. Thank you, Amber, by the way, for joining me. I've been Lewis McGlade. Of course, more racing action in the Michelin Ginetta Junior Championship in a few weeks when we go racing for the series finale at Donington. We hope to see you there.